Last question today is from Quentin Dempster.
Quentin Dempster from the New Daily, Prime Minister. You've recently been to Tasmania and Townsville, as you mentioned in your address, to comfort and support Australians suffering from wildfires and unprecedented inundation and flooding. Now, insurance actuaries are constantly revising risk assessment and are now factoring in climate change as an exacerbating factor in the higher frequencies of extreme weather events. Do you acknowledge that climate change is now the major factor in more frequent extreme weather events? And if you do, doesn't that mean that Australia's national disaster response needs a greater national coordination than what you've been able to announce under the national security umbrella that you've canvassed today?
Quentin, I don't know if I'd sort of agree with your reasoning. We have a clear commitment to reduce emissions to 26% by 2030. So that is our response. We are taking action on climate change. We do have a response in place to address the very real threats of climate change that you've articulated. It's part of our government's plan to do exactly that. And right now, in the middle of the fires in Tasmania and the floods in Queensland, and not fires just in Tasmania, as we know, in Victoria and Western Australia and other parts of the country, this is happening at a time when we've met the commitments that we have already set forth this time. So the actions that we've taken to address climate change have been taken, and we are meeting the commitments we've made up until right now, when these very events that you speak of are occurring. So my answer to that is we will continue to take action, just as we have. I acknowledge it's a factor. Of course it is. Australians do, the vast majority of Australians. But the issue is how you achieve it. We believe you need sensible, achievable targets to address climate change, and we have them, and we're achieving them. What we disagree with is having reckless targets that shut down your economy and take people's jobs, which is what Labor propose. Their target requires an emissions reduction roughly about 3 times what we still have to achieve by 2030. Now, if you think the Boyne aluminium smelter is going to be open under Labor's plan, you're kidding yourself. It won't be. So you have real targets that you meet with a plan to meet them. That's our policy on climate change. Or you have reckless targets that shut down the economy and cost Australians their jobs and their livelihoods. That's Labor's plan. And it brings me back to the same point I've been making all day. Under my government, Australia will be stronger. Under Bill Shorten's Labor government, Australia will be weaker. Thank you.
Everyone, please join me in thanking the Prime Minister.